Hello, this is Arvind from SEO's podcast. A lot of the recent podcasts have been going a little too long. I'll try to keep it short this time. Okay. So, here is how to gain back control of the call. First thing is, I'm not saying it in a manipulative way. Sometimes you're the person who has to lead the conversation forward, and it is something your responsibility to make sure you drive it to the correct outcome. So, without going into explanations, I'll jump right into it. Gaining back control in the call. There are few things that you can do. Two things that I'll be sharing here. One is asking the right questions. You can uh, listen to customers all you want, and it is a good approach. And I also shared that if it's an angry customer, that it is better to let them vent and go on what is there, but at some point you have to gain back control of the call. So here how it goes. First thing is you have to ask the right questions. You have to ask questions that are good and they change how they're thinking right now in that situation. So those have to be good questions, believe it or not. A lot of people think that a good persuasion is about maybe being very charming and those kind of things, but over the long term, it's also about asking the right questions, asking good questions. That is how it's the bread and butter of what we do every day. So, one thing is maybe you can ask questions that are relevant to what they're saying to get more information. So suppose uh, you're at a gym and someone says that they're missing their shoes. They put the shoes here and it was gone after they work out, after maybe they went for a steam, or they just left their shoes there for the workout, and maybe have a locker, and when they came back it was gone and they are angry about it. So one relevant question maybe, okay, I'll what did your shoes look like? uh, how was it, what color was their shoes? Or you can just ask start asking all the details of the shoes. And it is a kind of counterintuitive question, because it points them in the right direction, that you're taking responsibility. And maybe you can take out a notepad and start writing down that if you find this kind of shoes, you'll have even if you don't have a lost and found department, or you don't do those kind of things, but it is leading it in the right direction of how it goes. And maybe one question could be that one someone might say that it is not your the company's responsibility to take care of the belongings, those kind of things. That is okay, that is something that companies do who are lazy. And it is written up by lawyers and management people to make sure that their liability is not there and some kind of bad thing happens. And it is for certain situation, yeah, it is good from those kind of point of views. But if you're someone who's face to face with a customer, you cannot give a lawyer kind of statements, this kind of things. If you say, you'll end up getting the customer more frustrated and angry. And you're not there to win these cases or be right. You're there to service your customer who's there in front of you. So there, even if maybe at the end of the day you're not able to find those shoes, but if you show responsibility, that it is something that you will help them do and find out that it can be done, it's going to be a better service than directly saying that it's none of your business and it cannot be done. So this was a very small example. uh, the other thing is using hold. A lot of times call centers and maybe people are taking say that a lot of people are using hold to just take breaks during the calls, because a lot of times when people who are working in those kind of environment, they're taking usually back to back calls. So they're taking 70, 80, or maybe 100 calls a day. They are back to back automated calls, or not automated in the sense, but they get auto answering calls back to back. And a lot of times it is, there is some truth in it that it is used to when they can do it directly. People sometimes they take hold and take a little bit of refresher, and you have to understand that that is only human. If someone is taking like 80, 90 calls back to back, sometimes they need refreshers, and that is, I think, part of life you have to understand. So they try to make sure, those kind of call centers, they make sure that the hold time does not increase by that much, or someone is on a hold for a long time. The customer is also refreshed, in the sense they're told that yes, okay, they're on the line, and they're not end up waiting 5 or 10 minutes on hold. So as a customer, you might haven't had experiences that you were put on hold for a long time and you were just sitting there wondering how much time is going to take next, and you're not sure of the situation. So back to the point, why do we what is done to how does it matter to gaining back control of the conversation? So here's how it works. So when this is something inside a secret of maybe the call centers that a newbie or maybe the customers do not understand, but this is something that really works. Here's how it goes. When you're in a conversation and maybe the customer is fighting over some point, or speaking to you about certain things, and it's just endless rants about one thing, and you don't have any way of stopping it, or you are under pressure to close the call in a certain time. You have to get it completed faster, and maybe you're trying to steer the conversation away to a different topic by asking questions, but it does not seem to be working. So this is how it is done. You can a lot of times you can put the customer on hold, and maybe after 2 or 3 minutes, when the state of anger they're sometimes in, it sometimes dissipates. They sometimes if they are a lot of times, if they are angry about something, if they are just put on hold, sometimes they realize that they are being uh, they are being angry for no reason, or unreasonable. They sometimes do understand, or sometimes they forget about it. Or the other aspect is silence. A lot of times people are a bit uncomfortable in silence. So a lot of times if you say, a lot of people when they travel, they just cannot bear the silence even while traveling. That's why a lot of people are listening to music or whatever, and consuming some kind of things. So a lot of times people cannot bear the silence. It is kind of an uncomfortable thing, and it is kind of, you could say, a pressure tactic. Or I'm going too far, but I want to make sure that even if it is the most hardest conversation to the most simple conversation, you have all the skills to handle these kind of situations. So how much time you use and hold depends on how angry they might be, or how breaks you need to gain back control of the conversation. So uh, don't overuse it, but try to make sure that you have all the skills too, because either you have a system to lead the conversation to your point of view, or you fall into the system that the other person has to waste maybe whatever outcome that they want. So once you use hold, maybe you can get back with a new conversation. You can start share the conversation to a new point of view, or a new topic, and this can be used to steer the conversation in a different point of view, and it is totally socially acceptable, totally acceptable even to the customers of how you change the conversation by using this instead of directly. Sometimes what people do is hey sir, you're not listening to me. If you don't listen to me, how can I help you with it? And maybe they interrupt the customer in the middle of the conversation, and they're they're not able to transition from one topic to another smoothly enough that they're able to steer the conversation in the correct direction. So these things you can use the hold, and a lot of the team leaders or those people who are handling the call centers and customer service, they know that they might sometimes they also say do not use hold. You should not be using hold that much, but and that it is true to a certain extent, but you should also know how to use the hold button to your advantage, and steering the conversation and making calls fast and faster rather than keeping it longer. So, and a few things about how to use the hold. One thing is uh, you have to refresh the customer every 1 or 2 minutes, or maybe 2-3 minutes on that you're still on the line with them. And the other thing is this is if you if you're in a sales environment, or if you're certain if you need high persuasion, this is how you use hold instead of with the normal people, how they to put a call on hold. The general procedure is I need to check something, sir. Can I put your call on hold for a minute? And if you are seasoned enough in this, you might know that if you use it someone who's angry or something, they might say no, don't put me on hold, check it right away on the call, don't put me on hold, those kind of things. But a lot of times if you're experienced, or maybe if you're in different kind of things, here's how you would say it. Instead of that, what you'll be doing is instead of asking them that can you put a call on hold, I'll be telling them that okay, I'll be checking this, I'll be putting your call on hold for a minute or 2 minutes, it'll take some time, please be on the line, thank you. And you directly press the hold button. This is how it is done. Maybe you could say hold please, or and say that I need to check this, hold please. And if they understand hold please, it is better if it's a native English speaker. Sometimes if you're someone whose first language is not English, you have to maybe use the first part that I told you, and that is how I use it in those kind of situations, to use the hold button to your advantage. And this is kind of to the conversation, the phrase that goes, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So it's kind of one of those things. And the second thing, once you get back from the hold, a lot of times you'll hear that from customers directly say that you put me on hold for a long time and this kind of thing. Sometimes you might hear that, or sometimes if you've handled the call, you will not hear it. But after you come on hold, how you come back is thank you for being on the line, and you just continue forward. So instead of something that you're instead of being like that I'm sorry for what I've done or those kind of things, that you say thank you, that and thank you for being on the line, and that will take the conversation forward instead of apologizing. And this is something how you get back out of the hole once you put them in hold, and or put them on wait. And this can also be done in a physical environment. Instead of putting them on hold, which you cannot do, you have to be more subtle, and maybe you have to check and get back from the other room that can't be there. So you could go, you ask them that please wait, I have to check something with the manager, or there has been something that maybe if you have to uh, get something that is something very important that has come up, but that is not something that you're giving a priority over one customer to the what they're in front of them. It could be something that I'll give you an example. Maybe say once I was with selling 2 or 3 people some gym memberships, and there was some kid who was disabled that just came in, and with his father, and that was kind of a special kind of thing. And I had to take leave for them and go attend that person, because he certainly needed help with when in those kind of situations, and nobody was there to help at those times. So at that time, because it was a busy hour, so that is one thing. If it is someone feels that okay, this is he is putting on hold or wait to help something that is maybe on a human sense, it requires more attention than what is going on right now. So at that time, I took their leave and went off for 5 or 10 minutes and came back, and then again sold them the memberships. So whatever objections they had before that, they forgot about it. So when I came back, it was kind of like a hold, like happens in a telephone call, but it was the same as putting using the hold. So it is kind of a powerful tool. This was kind of an extreme example, but it could be as simple as hey, you could you could be a manager of a restaurant, and you could say that okay, this one of my this person is not there right now, I just need to attend this because of those reasons. And you just take a call of maybe an incoming call or something, and you get back. That can be used as a whole in a physical conversation, or you could just maybe if you're on a phone and you could be speaking to some customers face to face, and you could just directly say, oh my god, it is my wife or my children's call, children, or your son's call, maybe a uh, little kid's call, and you could just say that this kind of things that might be excusable reason to get on hold, and use it as a way to get back control of the conversation. Make sure that it is not some other customer. It should not be like some customers in front of you and you say, okay, wait, this is my high value customer, I have to take their call. This will be very disrespectful. Maybe that those kind of things, don't do it. But when you make sure, when you're doing a physically when you're handling customers, you make sure that if you're using hold or this kind of techniques to step back control of the conversation, make sure the excuse that you're using is valid excuse, and you keep refreshing them, if refreshing them in the sense that this is kind of a call center terminology, but you keep them informed of that if while you're away, that you are with them. Don't leave them hanging for a long time, otherwise they might just go. So that's all. Hope that helps. If there are any other ways, please do let me know, and we'll make another podcast for that. But that's all for now. How to get back control of the call, or the sales call or pitch at uh, using these methods. Thank you for listening to SEO Wolf.